Tonight on Joy News Prime, Electricity Company of Ghana serves notice of disconnection and demand notices on some heavily indebted public and private institutions as it gives a stern warning that no defaulter will be spared. We have details plus reactions for you here on Joy News Prime. And a heavy rainstorm destroys a makeshift structure set up to provide shelter for persons displaced after the deadly Appiatse explosion. Meanwhile, parts of the greater Accra have been flooded following a downpour which started in the early parts of the day. We'll bring you details shortly. And former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Dufo takes on the New Patriotic Party over what he describes as mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy.
We are going for elections in 2024. Looking at the situation we are in now, if we don't change, you and I, we may have to travel.
So at 8 p.m., I'll hand it over to Beverly Broom and Sarah Bediako for Prime Business and Prime Sports. Beverly, what's coming up in business?
So experts are calling for accountability of the E-Levy to be collected by the GRE come 1st of May 2022.
Government would need to set up a unit within the Ministry of Finance that should be accountable to the Ghanaian, just like the way the Ghana Revenue Authority will be accountable to the Minister of Finance.
And in sports?
And in sports, under 20 World Cup winner Samuel Nkum is happy to make a return to the Ghana Premier League after signing a one-year deal with Hearts of Oak.
This is where I started. So me coming back, I don't feel any what do you call it? Like I feel shy to come back where I started. No. I would love to play.
My name is Blessed Sogah. Don't forget that Joy News Prime is on your DSTV channel 421 and GoTo TV channel 144. This is your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Stay for details. And tonight we started from the Western region. The rebuilding process of the Appiatse community in the Prestia Huni Valley municipality is taking shape, and we know that several organizations and individuals have made cash and material donation towards the rebuilding effort. Now, the recent organization to help is the Takrady Harbour. My colleague Samuel Kojo-Brace has the full story.
This was how the life of the Appiatse community changed. A truck conveying explosives exploded in the middle of the community. Almost all houses in this community were wiped out, with several hundreds of people being injured in the process. 14 persons lost their lives. The country was thrown into a state of shock, and it launched an initiative to reach out to the world for help to rebuild Appiatse.
Nobody is asking anyone to give what they don't have, but just the little they have, they can share it with others.
To this end, the Takrady Port of the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority, led by the Director of Port, Captain Ebenezer Afezi, have donated 2,000 bags of cement to help the rebuilding process.
The management and staff of Ghana Port and Harbours Authority will put our heads together. We felt that we should come and support the government of Ghana to put up a befitting settlement for our brothers and sisters in Appiatse. So we've come here to donate 2,000 bags of cement, worth about 100,000 Ghana cedis, to support this project. We wanted to bring all the 2,000 bags at a go, but with this, after discussions with the MC, we came to an agreement that they will not be using all at a go, so we should bring just about 400. Then as is when they are ready, they will bring a cheat, then we'll supply. So now we've got 400, left with 1,600. Anytime they are ready, we've spoken with the factory.
The MC for the Prestia Huni Valley municipality, Dr. Isaac Dasmani, said he's been overwhelmed by the love Ghanaians have shown towards the effort to rebuild the community.
Let me take the opportunity to extend my gratitude to Gapoha for at least giving us these 2,000 bags of cement. It's a great, donation. 2,000 bags of cement. They've done a lot. Yeah, and I must say that the number of cement bags that we have received from other organizations and all is overwhelming. But then we are making sure that we are putting them in good use. You've seen from the side that we are, molding blocks with us. We don't want them to go bad and all of that. So we are putting all of them together. So this morning, Gapoha has also, shown the way, for others to also follow. We want to express our gratitude to the management, the team, and the entire company for this donation.
So, little by little, we are rebuilding the lost Appiatse to inspire hope that will live for each other. For Joy News, I am Samuel Kojo Brace.
Well, in spite of this development, we understand that a heavy rainstorm has destroyed a makeshift structure set up to provide shelter for persons displaced after the deadly Appiatse explosion. Joy News is learning many of the tents have collapsed with belongings of the people exposed to the mercy of the rains. There you have it on your screens. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources is pledging that it will help relocate the affected individuals to safer structures. Let's speak now to the Municipal Chief Executive for the Presti-Ahoni Valley Municipality, Dr. Isaac Dasamani, who's joining us now and has been assessing the situation all day. Thank you, sir, for joining us. So what's your official report that you're getting, having visited some of the sites and seen things for yourself?
Good morning, good evening to your listeners. Let me take the opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to your good self and then your listeners. It was around 2:30 that actually the rainstorm started. But then the Parliamentary Select Committee on Mining and Energy were here this morning, so we're all at Appiatse site, and then we met the people. So they left around 12:31. And then around 2:30, the rain started. But it was a very severe storm. And then I got information that some of the tents, we have 3 categories of tents. Yeah, let me say 4 categories of tents in the site there. We have one from the Gulf Coast, Ghana. And then we have 2 from the Red Cross. We have another one for UNICEF. And then we have another 2 for Mineral Income and Investment Fund. So the one that were donated was by Gulf Coast, about 9 of them, and then about 5 of them were affected. And out of the 5, we were able to salvage 3, and living with the 2 that were severely damaged. And then we still have some of the tents that were given to us by the Minerals Investment Fund, about 40 of them, the smaller ones. So what we decided to do is to readjust and make sure that at least the people, the 2 tents that were damaged will rest some, but they were able to accommodate themselves this evening. And then so I put a team together tomorrow morning. We are going to ensure that at least we rest those small ones for them to manage the situation. But as I speak to you, I had a serious discussion with the minister, deputy minister in charge of the reconstruction. Then the temporary accommodation that we have already put good members on it. So we spoke to some roofing companies, and then they are going to start work, and I'm sure by Monday they will be on site to roof the temporary structure for us. That is about 89 rooms that can accommodate about almost 400 families.
And I guess the concern is about tonight, right? So
come again.
So I guess the concern is about tonight. What measures are there to contain the situation?
Because we have a lot of tents. There were some spaces in the other tents, so they have just accommodated themselves. As when I was leaving the site just about an hour ago, so they were able to arrange their things in some places. So tomorrow, as early as 7 o'clock, I'll be there and we make sure that we rest some of the tents for them. So that at least we can solve that problem to temporarily whilst we are pushing for the roofing of the temporary structures.
And finally, just to confirm this, are there any casualties? Do we know if any persons have been affected?
No.
All right then, Dr. Dasamani, I'm grateful that you've been able to join us tonight.
Thank you very much. I'm most welcome.
News Prime. It's not only the western region that's been affected by the flooding. In fact, it's been a rainy day in Accra, and yet again, there have been floods in parts of the city. Some roads have also been rendered unmotorable. Some people were seen scooping flood water out of their homes in a bid to save their valuables. Joy News' Michael Ashale has the rest of the story.
So I say what na enko no enu ni ase ni report to sa obi enu hon man no fie assemblyman ni vote man no so wonya hwe ma yen wo hanu say.
Becky is one of many angry residents of Kaneshi Zongo. She operates a mid-sized food joint. The rains have robbed her of her gains.
Ahane ni eton benku ni eton emo ni nyoma nyina wo ha say enu ni eton nso ni to a enye enu ni asemo no
Sisi anu madwuma na se nti banku ni nyama no nyina we
bibia asay hone na esi ono enu nso ni nyina asay nsesi ana na kase na ebe ya ne ebe ya ebe so na ejade na ase we say bota na esi ono asay enkwa na esi ono nyina asay ese.
After a few minutes of continuous downpour, the huge drains overflowed onto the streets, making them impassable, resulting in heavy vehicular traffic.
Grab the level, see that? Grab the level. Start in the year where you reach. Where you come see my shop inside or everything's for that.
Ransford repairs and sells electronic gadgets. He narrates the extent of damage to his shop.
The laptops, home user accessories, everything.
That was 2016. I reported at NADMO. I called them, they came here, they took pictures and everything. But then there's no way they can help us. They always come here every year, every blessed year. We always do what we have to do to prevent the rain or the flooding. But yes, still, it is happening each and every day.
To save their valuables, some homeowners had to scoop the water.
It doesn't happen often, but this rain day, I don't know what happened. I was about to sleep in pool, then all of a sudden I saw the rain coming all over. So I had to stand up and start clearing off some of the things. Home appliances. The rain has destroyed everything, so this one we have to dry them before we can sell them.
Some residents link the floods directly to the improper disposal of plastic waste in the area.
The problem is that if we know they cheat ourselves, the boiler we put inside the gutter is not good at all. It didn't help us at all. That's why. You see, the boiler they come from far away. Our people know they put boiler inside the gutter. Then they choke. You see? That's why the water no dey pass in place. They make some gutter for back here. They know they're supposed to bring. They do it all to come end, but they didn't do it like that. They do some, they leave some. That one too is creating problem.
While these shop owners and residents continue to count their costs and reel from the floods, Assemblyman for the area, Yakubu Abani Asoke, says he is working with NADMO to support them.
Every rainfall. It lasted for about more than an hour, so you can imagine heavy rainfall. This is a nationwide problem. But talking about drains, as I speak, Mimete Electra area there, everywhere we have drains in Mimete Electra area. Immediately the rain stop, I have to come around and see to either my people are safe. That's why I'm going around to see the affected people, make sure NADMO people will troop in, and the necessary assistance that we have to give to them, we'll give it to them.
According to the Ghana Meteorological Agency, more of such rains are to be expected in the coming days. Reported for Joy News, Michael Ashale, Kaneshi.
Well, the National Disaster Management Organization says it is readying itself to contain more rains that are expected in the coming days. George AEC is in charge of the communications unit at NADMO.
We are ready for the season's possible flooding. and getting families into safety and all that. I spoke about our search and rescue team being ready. Operations team are on standby. When we need us, we'll be able to go immediately to assist people and help them to safety. When people are trapped with trees that are falling and all that, such things, NADMO is ready to assist on that score. Yes, we are ready.
And is there anything that the general public has to be cautious of going into this season?
Yes, definitely. Because of the weather forecast given by meteorological services, that is going to be windy, stormy, and all the thunderstorms and others, we got to be careful when we want to go out.
Now, the Electricity Company of Ghana has served notice of embarking on a massive revenue collection and disconnection exercise, as the state power distributor has served notice defaulters, big or small, will not be spared. Over 31 institutions, including Parliament, the Communications Ministry, and also the University of Ghana, and the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP office, have until Monday to settle their indebtedness to ECG or face disconnection. These institutions collectively owe ECG over 70 million cedis, and despite several reminders, ECG says they have failed to settle their debt. Here's a full list for you of some of the institutions owing the Electricity Company of Ghana various amounts of money there. Ministry of Communication owing over 5 million cedis there. You also have some other institutions, UNDP 558,000, and then the Internal Audit Agency is also following through, and the list goes on and on, with the National Information Technology Agency also owing a little over 1 million Ghana cedis. The University of Professional Studies Accra is included in that list as well, 1,611,403.21 Ghana cedis is where they are lying. So what's the implication for the effectiveness of the Electricity Company of Ghana? A number of reforms have taken place, but there's a need for us to also expand the conversation. Meanwhile, the United Nations Development Programme itself, UNDP, has been commenting on this issue, issuing a statement earlier today and indicating that the attention of the United Nations Development Programme in Ghana has been drawn to the media publication and discussion on the list of debtors to the Electricity Company of Ghana. As the UN agency leading on development and supporting Ghana's development agenda, UNDP appreciate the government's continued contributions to its operations as the host of the UN system in Ghana. UNDP wishes to seize the opportunity to affirm its commitment to supporting the government and the people of Ghana to accelerate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals here in Ghana. So that's the indication we're getting from the reaction we're getting from the UNDP. But let's look at the issue of ECG indebtedness and how to improve efficiency. Joining me now on phone is Edward Bauer, Member of Parliament for Bongo, and also a member of the Energy, Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament. On Zoom as well, I have two experts joining us, Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, Energy Specialist, and Peter Tekbe, who is a Policy Analyst as well. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Let me start off with you, Edward Bauer. So as a committee in Parliament, once your attention has been drawn to this, the fact that even Parliament itself owes ECG, what measures will you be taking to redress the situation?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers. Look, let me start first by congratulating ECG. I think that this is long overdue. Indeed, if you look at the challenges in the power sector, you see the power sector has three functional zones. We have the distribution, we have the transmission, and we have the generation. The distribution end is the one that interfaces with consumers. And so when that does not perform, that particular functional zone does not perform well, it affects transmission, it affects generation, because their generators will generate the power, give it to transmitters to transmit, and then they will distribute. So if they are unable to collect the money, it means that they are not able to pay the people on the higher on the value chain. So basically, in my opinion, I want to congratulate them for that. Two, my brother, let me now state very clearly to you that if you go and look at the Energy Sector Recovery Program document that was authored by the Ministry of Energy in 2019, they state very clearly that the indebtedness to ECG on annual basis is $180 million. Out of this, $150 million is normally occasioned because of the default from MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies. So government agencies, government departments, government ministries are the worst culprits when it comes to default. Out of this total amount of money that is owed ECG as a result of people using power and not paying for it. So to have a situation where ECG is now going out and calling people by their names and then making sure that they disconnect them if they don't pay, I think it's the right, because look,
but could it not be the case that a lot of water has gone under the bridge?
It's not a question of a lot of water has gone under the bridge. You have been offered a service. It is only fair that you pay for it. For example, if you go to Joy FM, you say multimedia. If you do not pay for your power, they will disconnect you. It's as simple as that. So why would, for example, University of
Professional Studies, yes,
not pay for using power? Why would Ministry of Communication not do that? And I'll give an example. I remember when we were in the ministry, because of the fact that we felt that, look, because of the default in most government agencies, Ministry of Energy, as a sign of example setting, decided to put the Ministry of Energy on prepaid. So as we speak today, Ministry of Energy is on prepaid. So when they go and buy power and the power is exhausted, they go off. They have to go and buy power again. And I don't know why government agencies, and I've always stated it, and this is the point, all government agencies must be put on prepaid except critical areas. I understand, for example, if you were to go to the hospital, I expect that, yes, maybe the theaters and other things should not be on prepaid, but they should be on credit meters. However, what explanation would you give me for a doctor's flat being on a credit meter? Why would it be so? And so, for me, I think that what the ECG is doing is very, and I'll be very happy if tomorrow they disconnect Parliament.
All right then. Let's see what then happens in the coming days. I'm grateful, Edward Bauer, for your time. Let me take your thoughts, Dr. Yusuf Suleiman, and I'll come to you, Peter Tekpe, as well. So starting off with you, Doc, what's the way forward, particularly when we know that this amount of money are very critical to the efficient running and management of the Electricity Company of Ghana?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening to you, and good evening to our cherished viewers in Ghana and across the globe. Yes, indeed, I've just alluded to what my good friend just mentioned, so I don't want to rehash what he said.
All right.
You know, if you look at the chain of this part of a complex chain, we have three segments, like you mentioned. We have the transmission, distribution, and then the generation. Generation has been excellent. Transmission, we are not doing bad, but distribution has been the bane of all these things. You know, and these three units are so seamlessly linked that if one chain of it is not functioning efficiently, it's going to lead to negative impact on the other chain. So going forward, I think the main thing is the losses. The losses within ECG is simply phenomenal. You can imagine an institution where they can, the generator to give power, the transmission, the power will be transmitted to ECG, and about 20 to 30% of it cannot be accounted for. That's phenomenal and gross inefficiency, and that has to be looked at.
Okay, because we don't have because we don't have all of the time, Dr. Yusuf, for you laid out for us in very clear points, what should be the priority now, and how do we deal with the issue going forward?
The priority now is to probably look at privatizing ECG. Not complete privatization. I think that's the way to go. The main thing is efficiency. See, government of Ghana is still linked to, SOEs are still linked to ECG. So it's very difficult for ECG to buy at this moment. So, but if you privatize it in a way, I think to inject a bit of efficiency. But very quickly, in privatizing it, you remember what happened in PDS. We just have to make sure that we don't repeat that. And how can we do that? We make sure that we get private partners who are coming to be what we call, helpful to the system. They shouldn't come and be parasitic to this, to the already weak system. So if you get a private partner who is going to be like a symbiotic relationship, where the government of Ghana will benefit and then the private sector partner will benefit, I think that's the way to go. So I think I'll make a call that we need to privatize ECG. Let's let's inject efficiency into ECG. And how can we inject efficiency? Let's, open out the chain. We can't leave a single source distribution for ECG, that is a source of inefficiency. But if we get other possible distributors in a way, I think that helps. So let's bring in private sector participation. I think that's the bane of ECG. If we do that, we're going to inject a bit of efficiency into ECG. Yeah.
All right then. Dr. Yusuf Suleiman, I'm grateful. Peter Tekpe, going forward for you, do you believe that it's time for the Electricity Company of Ghana spending time going after monies that are, some say are already lost? We will not be able to retrieve it.
Thank you very much. The reality is that this is not the first time that this issue is coming up, and it's been with us a very long time. These debt that you are seeing there are not debt that were owed over a month or two, but over years. And as a result, we need to ask ourselves, why are we where we are now? It's because if you look at those institutions, they are not commercial institutions that are making profit. At the end of the day, is indirectly government still owing itself, because government has taken ECG, government has taken these institutions. And so if these institutions don't receive their submissions, they cannot be able to pay. Don't forget that if these institutions need to be paying themselves, they don't generate income or profit that they can use to pay themselves. That is why, to be able to manage this very well, the budget that is allocated to these institutions, there need to be a cautious effort to allocate a portion specifically to be able to be clearing this debt. Then in that case, we can always say that, okay, whenever this institution is given this budget, 10% of the budget or 1% of the budget is going to be paid. Then at all times, payment is going to be made. The reason is that ECG will go and disconnect. Tomorrow they will call them to go and reconnect. Why? Because those institutions need to run. You can't imagine what will happen if they go and disconnect Parliament. It can't work. They will tell them to reconnect. So what do? Look at the budget of Parliament. Then you say, look, make sure you allocate this amount to payment of the electricity bill. If you want to go by the prepaid meters, of course, that is the best solution. So we need the political will to be able to do that.
Okay.
But since over the years, this could not be achieved, then we need to now have a deliberate policy whereby portion of their subventions will be allocated to be paying this bill. Then that will reduce the debt, if not increasing it to the level we are seeing now.
I'm grateful, gentlemen, that you're able to share your thoughts with us here on Joy News Prime. Peter Tekpe, policy analyst, and also Dr. Yusuf Suleiman, an energy expert. Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. We'll return after this break. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now, former Governor and Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Duffuor has blamed the New Patriotic Party for what he describes as mismanagement of Ghana's economy, a situation which, according to him, has brought untold hardship and could force many more Ghanaians to seek greener pastures elsewhere. He, however, believes there is an opportunity to put things right by bringing the National Democratic Congress back to power in 2024. Dr. Duffuor was addressing some NDC faithful at the Shaman as he launched the NDC Ahoto project.
For former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Duffuor, the current economic situation vindicates the NDC and puts the party in a better position to win the 2024 elections. However, he says this would not come on a silver platter, as those at the grassroots have to be financially sound to deliver the victory. Dr. Duffuor, under the Ahoto project, donated some items including canopy, chairs, PA system, among other things, which will be replicated across the remaining 274 constituencies.
Now, we are going for elections in 2024. Looking at the situation we are in now, if we don't change, you and I, we may have to travel. It is not easy. But if we take this work seriously, 2024, we are going to win. Every constituency will have something to fight. When you go to war, what do you need? We are preparing for it now. We are going to fight 2024, a win and get the power so that we add something to Ahuto.
Dr. Dufour urged members of the party to have a united front to help achieve the 2024 mission as well as winning more seats in Greater Accra.
With talking alone, you talk and spend the resources to move the party forward. But yeah, I like it. This is real reorganization. Let us make sure that Ashaman, what's happening here affects all the other constituencies in Greater Accra. You have 20. You are 34. We want to get about 30 2024. So let's see, what can we do to get 30 out of 34 so that Greater Accra will be NDC. Matino, Makado, Ehu here. Ehu here, Minuaba. Odo, STB, Bia, we are here. Now, the Odo can't ajiba hua. Where we?
Meanwhile, former Trade and Industry Minister and flag bearer aspirant Dr. Kuswi Garba says the party must work towards changing the perception of being anti-business due to its past. Some past government officials and party executive were present to support Dr. Dufour.
Revolution. Now, medical officials at the Bank Hospital here in Accra have revealed the worrying phenomenon of kidney disease among young people in the country. According to them, the number of young people contracting the disease is on the rise. Speaking at the launch of an ultra-modern renal center at the facility, senior staffer Dr. Charlotte Osafo cautioned the public to take preventive steps. Joy News' Malsi Numon has the rest of the story.
The prevalence of chronic kidney disease is estimated at 13.3%, of which herbal medication, among other factors, is a significant contributor. Dr. Charlotte Osafo is a medical doctor at the Bank Hospital, and she takes us through some of the causes of kidney disease as well as its preventive measures.
The main things that make people get to control their hypertension. And how do you control it? There are so many ways. Your doctor will prescribe some drugs for you. You have to take the drugs. You also have to do certain things like reducing your salt intake, reducing your weight, regular exercise, eating healthy. All those are important, not only for hypertensive patients, but also for diabetics, because diabetes is also one of the causes of kidney failure. Infections are also one of the causes. So if you go to the hospital and they said you've got an infection of the kidney and they give you medications, you have to take it.
CEO of the Bank Hospital, Idren Puvan, also noted that the facility is open to the general public for the treatment of kidney diseases.
In Ghana at the moment, there's a huge shortage of dialysis stations. So we felt in order to serve the country, let's open up a renal center, and then also we're trying to make it an all-inclusive package so that it can be affordable for the average person to come in and get renal dialysis. So we offer the services currently to the Bank of Ghana staff, but it's also open to the public, to the private, and we're negotiating with insurance companies to bring those patients to us as well.
Meanwhile, Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Anthony Insiasari, who spoke at the launch, disclosed government plans to institute an insurance system to cater for patients undergoing dialysis.
The cost of treating one patient on renal dialysis for a year is about 50,700. And I'm sure most families cannot afford that 50,700 for one patient alone. That's 3 times dialysis a week for 1 year. It's huge. It's very out of the reach of people. So we also want to also set up maybe a renal fund or get an insurance system which will take care of the renal cases.
Dr. Anthony Insiansari also indicated government's intention to constitute a law to regulate the donation of kidneys to patients who may have to undergo kidney transplants.
But when a patient is on renal dialysis, the ultimate would have been to have a transplant. As you speak now, I think apart from Kolebu, who has done some few transplant cases with assistance from people from the diaspora, we don't have any standalone renal transplant unit. But before we can do that, we have to put the legislature in place. I know that when I was in Ghana, we started something like that. We want to finish it as quickly as possible so that we can have the law out of Parliament, which will be backing it, so that nobody will go and catch somebody on the street and go and remove the kidney to sell.
Officials of the facility, which currently has a 24-unit renal center, say they hope to expand it in the coming years. Mausi Numon's report for Joy News.
President of African University College of Communications, Professor Isaac Beko-Blanson, says research points to the willingness of Ghanaians to pay taxes provided there's a wider consultation. He identifies lack of effective communication on government policies as a major setback. He was speaking on the sidelines of a civic education.
It's been passed. We have to remember that from data that I've seen, the studies that I've seen, even though Ghanaians would like to pay taxes, they are not necessarily in support of the E-Levy. And the reason they're given is that there was not enough civic engagement, public discussion on the issue. We need to have more public education, civic engagement on the issue of the E-Levy. And this is very important in my view, because it is one thing passing a bill, all right, like E-Levy. It's another thing getting compliance for the bill. All right, yes, it's been passed and we are glad that it's been passed peacefully. However, the big issue now is compliance. And if you listen to some experts and also look at the experience of other countries, those who have withdrawn it, it was because of compliance issues and the same argument that we were not consulted. That as a nation, do we need to still continue to talk about E-Levy? And actually, interestingly, even the audience that were here, I asked them their understanding of the E-Levy, and majority of them still don't, which means as a nation, we still need to do a lot of work. Your question is, well, it's been passed. But again, remember, passing a bill is one thing. Getting compliance is even more difficult. I think from my perspective, and also from a communicative perspective, the government should now actually begin, if they haven't already done that, begin to engage. Passing a bill is just the tip of the iceberg. The bigger part is getting Ghanaians to patronize what we've passed. And we can't go to sleep. As a nation, we have to educate ourselves as what it means, what we are going to pay, what we are not going to pay, all the exemptions and all of that. We need to know, all right? And interestingly, if you look at the data that I presented, the research that I presented, majority of Ghanaians say they want to pay tax, but not E-Levy. It doesn't mean they don't want to pay tax. They do not understand. So let's educate. Let's continue to educate. Let's get people on board. And I think that's where we should go. And my caution to the government or policymakers in general is not to just go to sleep and think that, look, I've passed it already, so what the heck? No, there's more to be done.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta says government has the capacity to fix challenges facing the economy in the years it has left to govern. Mr. Ofori-Atta last month announced a raft of austerity measures geared at stemming the tide in what economists warn could be the collapse of the Ghanaian economy. Speaking at a National Youth Authority breakfast meeting of young agencies, Mr. Ofori-Atta assured things will change soon. There's more in the following report.
The forum brought together leaders of various youth agencies to discuss ways of addressing challenges confronting the youth. Mr. Ofori-Atta urged participants not to lose hope.
We own this land. This is being left for the emancipation of the whole black race. And so we have to dare to do. We have to be uppity. We have to be clear of who we are. We can't give up. We persevere. We move, and that's it. And because I have gone through that, and therefore I know. I went through sixth form in Achimota. I was just so giddy and happy that I completely failed my A-levels. And my dad said, well, really? So why don't you drive me around? That's all, because as far as he was concerned, you had the capacity and you had messed up. So I drove Dad around for a while, but then he was the parliamentarian for Begro at that time. That's Fantiako, which is now been 2. And so then what happens? So for about a year, whilst I'm trying to do my A-levels again, teaching at Accra Academy, math, and then sitting in the balcony of Parliament, just listening and seeing these politicians, not knowing that I was going to need it. So the first time that I was reading the budget, I'm like, wow. And so the Lord had moved this chess piece ages ago. There was Dad sitting in the balcony, and there was me there. And he had also been Deputy Minister of Finance, in the Second Republic, So when we grab a government that seems to want to push this thing, let's take these 3 years that are left, which is Jesus's 3 years, 30 to 33, clearly focusing on the road to Jerusalem. And what is our Jerusalem? A freed entrepreneurial society in which the structures are there to support you, and even if they are not, what is it that is in you?
He also said a national cathedral project, when completed, will attract foreign investment into the country.
I'm looking and saying, okay, there are 650 million Christians in Africa. Likely they can afford to go to Israel. So therefore, if our cathedral becomes the center of the pilgrimage, and usually when people come in, before they leave, they would have thrown down from $2,000 to $3,000. So imagine 10% of these people coming through each year. That's just phenomenal. Then you look at the whole diasporan concept and how do you pull them into this place.
Such similar meetings are expected to take place later in the year.
Now Ghana's favorite radio station, Joy 99.7 FM, is back with Joy FM's Easter Soup Kitchen, which is the company's corporate social responsibility to society. This is how we say thank you for the support all these years. Come Easter Sunday, a targeted number of over 2,000 less privileged persons will be giving a special treat in which your favorite presenters will be doing the cooking under the supervision of the professional chefs. Head of marketing at Joy FM, David Maxfugan, tells us more about this year's Easter Soup Kitchen.
The Joy FM Easter Soup Kitchen is one of our flagship CSR events where we give back to the community with the support of donors, sponsors, and volunteers. Every year on Easter Sunday or Easter Monday, we provide hot meals for our less fortunate brothers and sisters. This year, after a short break, we are back, and we are doing it this time at the Joy FM car park. The unique thing about this year's event is that we are setting up the kitchen at the Joy FM car park. For the first time, the chefs are going to be multimedia staff. Our presenters, our support staff, our management, our audience, our clients, everybody will be there to prepare the meal. And then we will serve this, we will package it and serve it around 6 o'clock. Because we believe that some of our intended beneficiaries are observing the Ramadan. And so we want to serve them just when they are breaking the fast for the day. This year we are focusing on immediate neighbors. We are focusing on the people in Kukumlemle. We are focusing on Alajo, Nima, Kotobabi, Adabraka. These are the people we are focusing on this year. Hopefully next year we will expand it and make it bigger and better. If you are out there and you want to support us, our doors are still open. We have had the support of Walmart, who has supplied us rice, cooking oil, seasoning, Frytol seasoning, Frytol cooking oil, and the Fortune rice. We have others who have called and have pledged their support. If you are out there, you want to support us, our doors are still open. call us, we'll come and pick up the items to help our less fortunate brothers and sisters in these communities this Easter. Let's put a smile on behalf of the management and staff of Multimedia, and on my own behalf, I wish all of you a happy Easter and the best of the Ramadan season. May God accept our prayers.
You're still watching Joy News Prime. We'll be back after this short break.
Good evening. Let me start by painting this scenario for you. Imagine you have an employee who fails to turn up for work consistently, but always shows up when it's pay time. Would you pay them, or would you simply replace them? Ponder over that as I come to the core of the issue we are focusing on tonight, and that is absenteeism in the House of Lords, our legislature. I'm talking about the Ghanaian Parliament. In recent times, we've heard media reports about how the business of the House has slowed down because oftentimes there are not enough people in the chamber to form a quorum for decisions to be taken on the floor of the House. Of course, Parliament is on recess as we speak, but for several weeks prior, very little could be done in the House as only a few members turned up to the chamber as was expected of them. In fact, some government business were delayed because, again, they failed to reach a quorum. But the issue of absenteeism in Parliament is a long-standing one. In fact, this is not the first time I'm talking about it. Parliamentary watcher Odikro has been consistently presenting reports of MPs' absenteeism and its impact on parliamentary work. Let me tell you why regular attendance of MPs to Parliament is critical to the functioning of government. First of all, it's crucial for the effective representation of citizens during public debates and decision-making, a fundamental tenet of our democracy. Second, it ensures the efficiency of our governance processes. Before Parliament can commence business, the 1992 Constitution requires that 1/3 of MPs, that's 92 of the 275, are present. Thus, the lack of quorum brings to a halt government business and may delay or even rush the consideration or passage of crucial bills. So clearly, you see why it's important for your representative to be in the office where he has been elected to serve. Now, in 2018, Michael Bates, a minister at the Department for International Development in the UK, offered a shocking resignation in the House of Lords for being late. Yes, Lord Bates was not present in the chamber, and he missed a question that was directed at him. He said he was thoroughly ashamed at not being in his place for the question, and he walked out to loud shouts of no, 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 no from some of his other colleagues. That is the UK. So over the years, the issue of absenteeism of MPs in Ghana has lingered. You won't hear of any MPs resigning because they are late or they are absent. People have complained about it. Nothing much has been done, and the situation remains the same. The leadership of the House has never sanctioned MPs for absenteeism. But that changed last week when the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, decided to refer 3 MPP MPs to the Privileges Committee for absenting themselves for 15 consecutive sittings. Per the standing orders, any MP who absent himself or herself without permission for that duration risk losing their seat. So the 3 MPs are Dome Kwabenya MP, Sarah Adjosafo, Asin Central's Kennedy Ejipong, and Ayawaso Central's Henry Korte. And they will lose their seats if they do not provide a reasonable explanation to the Parliamentary Committee on Privileges, which has 2 weeks after the House resumes from the Easter break to present their report. Now, the 2 gentlemen, we are told, are ill. In the case of Adjosafo, we know that she's not in the jurisdiction. But we also know that she has refused to play ball with her MPP colleagues. Her former boss, the majority leader, says the Speaker has had to reject further requests by the MP to extend her absence.
We have been limping, I must admit. If she were here, this hurdle would have been cleared long, long ago. Unfortunately, she's not here. We've been having conversations about her coming back, and she promised and, you know, renege on many occasions. But I think all is not right. All is not right. How to go forward with it is the bigger burden.
Well, his minority colleagues accuse his side of scheming to remove the Dome Kwabenya MP, Sarah Adwoa-Safo.
Ability is there, but that will make very difficult to defend for the committee on the floor. That 3 people comment about the same crime.
Yeah.
And then you say, oh, this one.
But the constitution is clear. The reasonableness of your reason for being upset.
And I say that.
They come to the determination that Adwoa-Safo isn't reasonable, but those two are.
Well, so that's for them to determine.
Well, the hypocrisy of this issue is that the majority is seemingly concerned about the absenteeism of these 3 MPs. But in reality, they just want to kick Sarah Adwoa-Safo out. They are not really concerned about absenteeism. You see, the politics around this will continue. But the real question is, what will happen in terms of attendance to the House after this whole Sarah Adwoa-Safo issue is thrashed out? Will MPs be more committed to showing up for work early or showing up at all? Who will monitor parliamentarians when they don't show up for work? Or will we go back to business as usual?
For Joy News Prime, my name is Sogah. Log on to myjoyonline.com. We have more updates for you there. Next is Prime Business. Do stay.